explode into a big, big cacophony of moths any minute now. Good thing you are watching the Vomitorium, or else you wouldn't know this. You can support the show at www.streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Good luck in the apocalypse!
get in. Hey everybody, welcome to the Vomitorium. As always, I'm your host, The Metal, and here we're mostly Gonna talk about festivities, holiday stuff. I was planning to talk about holiday tunes, music, and the like, and maybe some holiday games or games that have to do with the holiday season, just to keep things in the tune, but it's mostly just a relaxed chill stream. I'll probably break whatever the topic is to engage with the chat because it's our last show before Christmas. Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, however you want to say it to anyone celebrating the chat. And if not, happy holiday to whatever you do or don't celebrate. Just try to be festive. Enjoy it if you can. And if you enjoy these kind of shows, please feel free to grab that link, whether it's above or below or in a share button, and put it out there into the ether for somebody else to possibly enjoy it. It's both the most and least you could do, but, it's not necessary, just appreciated. Anyhow, let's get into it. Let's see who's here today. We got both Fizz and, oh, hey, Matt. We gave you a spotlight. Hope your campaign ended up doing well enough. Talking about authors, editors, publishing. Very rough business. Very, very rough business trying to get into publishing. But I'll tell you, any editor, even if they don't know much specifically about the sort of thing that you're writing, if they can't help build that up, can at least tell you what the industry is looking for. And a lot of times it might just be that the industry isn't looking for you right now. And that's why a lot of us end up staying independent. But any professional editor knows what the industry is looking for in any sector. Oh, it's sad to hear that you didn't get the goal. Well, we tried to help as little as we could. Maybe, let's say maybe next time, but I think you already did it multiple times. It's got to be very disparaging to have to keep going and going, but we all know how it is. Keep at it as long as you can. But the first thing I was planning on talking about today is obviously being the Christmas season. There's tons of music that you hear all the time. Actually, I am criminal to it. As I walk around, I'm the type of guy that I just have no regard for my environment around me at all. And I'll go for walks outside with my phone blasting at full volume, whatever music I want to listen to. I don't have headphones on or anything. I can't really have headphones on because I don't really have anything that's Bluetooth except for a single pair of sunglasses that are kind of tight on me. Most people, I guess, don't have Bluetooth sunglasses, but my phone doesn't have a headphone jack any longer because phone companies feel like that's just something they don't need to spend money on putting in the phone anymore. So I blast my music as I'm walking around. I probably would have done that anyway because ever since I was young, I've had a jacket with headphones or speakers in the hood. And I'm the type of guy that I would wear this in the summertime in the 100-degree temperature just to be able to listen to music at full volume. I'm a bit of a menace that way. But I've switched on the North Pole radio this time of year, so anybody who happens to pass me also has to listen to Christmas music for the brief moment that we're in passing. Even if you feel like you've got enough of it from your day job, because a lot of retail, you have to listen to Christmas music all day, I'm not going to let you escape it. That's just the type of person I am. And I think there's a quality level. There's good Christmas music, and there's bad Christmas music, and yet all of them seem to get the same airtime. And of course, it's going to be personal taste. I don't think just because I dislike something is necessarily bad, but I can tell you exactly why some of these songs, I don't like them, and I think they really just shouldn't be playing. One of them, in particular, it bothers me every single year, but basically every, 10th song that plays on the radio is this song again. It's one of the most popular ones on the charts forever. only losing out in its popularity once All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey came out. And that's actually not even the one I'm complaining about right here. Because at least that song tells a story. I don't know if there was any heart put into the writing of it, but the performance feels like there is. So I don't have much gripes with that, even if it is a little bit overplayed. No, it's the song Happy Holidays by Andy Williams is just the most fluffy bubblegum pop song that's ever existed, where you could tell that they wrote it because they needed to make a song. Not because they wanted to, because they needed to make a song, because they needed to make money off of it. It's nothing. It doesn't tell a story, which is, music doesn't have to tell a story. It doesn't really express emotion. It doesn't even really connect to the season much at all. He literally says whoop-de-doo in the song just to chain into Hickory Dock, and the only reason Hickory Dock from probably Hickory Dickory Dock, the mouse went up the clock, is in there was so that he could rhyme it with the word he wanted at the end. It's just a very empty, shallow, heartless song that bothers me every single time I hear it. And I don't change the channel just because it's on, because I know it's not going to last very long. The song is like 2.5 minutes tops. I think. I've never timed it. And I'll be fine for the next like 9 songs in a row. But eventually, Happy Holidays will come back around. I'm like, why are you even here? You don't deserve to be on the same station with music like Have a Holly Jolly Christmas or One Horse Open Sleigh / Dashing Through the Snow / Jingle Bells, because that song has way too many names. Or some of these better classics like Silent Night or God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. You know, it's just, there's all these really good Christmas songs and even just off holiday songs, and then you just hear Happy Holidays and it ruins the entire vibe. I don't know if you could tell how much I dislike this song, the fact that I'm dedicating an entire 10 minutes of the show to complaining about it, but that's how I feel. And I know just I'm going to have to continue hearing it. Next year, I'm going to continue hearing it too. The song's been going on for decades now, longer than I've been alive, and it will probably continue going on past my life expectancy. Wherever the expiration date is stamped, even if I'm going to ignore it, it's probably going to continue much past that as well. But there's some good songs, like I mentioned. I really like Have a Holly Jolly Christmas. I think that one is one of the quintessential Christmas songs. It's a good one that tells almost like a story. It's actually more instructional than anything. It's imperative. Like, it's telling you how to live out the next like week or two of your life. But it's got really nice flow. It connects directly to everything that's going on in the holiday. I think that's great. The Christmas song is a great one too. I think there's a really strong tradition of doing covers of older songs, because we all love these songs so much. So why wouldn't you want to do a cover of the song? And some of them are starting to get so old that even something that seems to be contemporary has covers, right? And for the longest time, All I Want for Christmas Is You, I never really considered that anybody would cover the song because it's so new. But recently, I heard, if anybody was going to do it, it'd be him, that Michael Bublé has a cover of All I Want for Christmas Is You. And actually, I thought the song sounded better than I had ever heard it before. Not that I think his version is better, but maybe it's because you're just so used to hearing the other version, or I am used to it, and using the actual active voice here, that just hearing any other version of the song sounded great. It's like, oh, cool, that's a change, you know? It's novel now, instead of just being this rut that you hear every single year. I'd like to hear more contemporary covers. But you don't get too many new Christmas songs anymore. At least nothing that really hits the top. I think the art of writing holiday music is mostly behind us. Every once in a while you hear something that really pops off. And I don't know if it's because people feel different about the holidays than they used to. That could be part of it. And could be a very, very big part of it. Also, hey, Mike. But it could also be that we're just so saturated with music already that have become part of the traditions that it's really hard to come up with something new that doesn't feel like it's just riffing on something else. And also on the other side, a lot of people just want to be in the tradition of covering the classic music. Like you've sung it your entire childhood. Why wouldn't you want to do your own recording of it now? I, myself, have wanted to do recordings of classic stuff. Again, that's not to say that there isn't new music that happens. Just none of them stick. One of my favorite holiday albums I listen to every single year, it might actually be my top favorite holiday album, is Bare Naked for the Holidays by the Bare Naked Ladies. Wonderful album, covers both Christmas and Hanukkah. Has some great covers of songs like I Have a Little Dreidel, / just called the Dreidel song. Things like I Saw Three Ships Sailing There, God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, Jingle Bells, I believe Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is in there too. Some classics, but they also have several songs on there that they just wrote for the album that did not exist before that. And it's very fun. But even Bare Naked for the Holidays is a very old album at this point. I was still relatively young when that album came out. And maybe one of the reasons you don't get as many albums like that anymore is because you don't get as many albums anymore. So there's probably a lot of new Christmas songs that are tucked in as singles over on digital stores. Maybe if you go to Bandcamp, you could probably find a bunch of original stuff. Stuff where people whip something up just for a single YouTube video. But because everything's so disconnected, it's not going to end up on the radio. It's not going to end up on the charts. It's actually really hard to hear about these new music, even if somebody's making it. And that's a little sad. Maybe I'll take some time today, too, after the show, actually just searching new Christmas music to see if anybody's making anything cool. But the advent of the internet that allows us to explore and experience all kinds of new things that we never would before also makes everything so disconnected that it's hard to find something that you don't already know about or isn't tangential to the circles you're in so that the algorithm drops it into your lap. Because it wants to feed you things that you already like, whether you know you like it or not. That's how it gets your attention the most. And it would much rather just give you, especially if you're listening to music, and I've noticed this, instead of giving you new music that's like the stuff that you've already watched, videos that you may not have watched before, they would rather just recycle, like, oh, hey, you listened to this last week. Maybe you want to listen to it again just so we can keep you on the app. That's in their best interest. That's not even a bad way to run things. It just means it can be hard for you to find something a little new. I know it's been hard for me, even trying to go out and looking for new stuff. One of my other favorite albums for the holiday that I've been listening to since I was a wee lad is Christmas with the Chipmunks. But you always have to specify that because there are several volumes of Christmas with the Chipmunks, as I found out trying to find some of the specific songs I've listened to, and some of the distribution of those albums have not been intact. I had a cassette for the Chipmunks Christmas album, but I could not figure out exactly which volume I had because I don't think I had an exact volume. I think there were several Chipmunks Christmas mixes where they took a few songs from the different albums and just sold them as independent cassettes. Because when I looked for even the album lists, I found that the stuff that I was looking for was scattered across several of the volumes. I was also really surprised when I was looking up their version of... Oh, what was the song? I am blanking on the name. I went out of my way to find this one. To Grandma's House We Go, I think is the one I was looking for. And it had more downvotes than upvotes. Like, who's going out of their way to find an Alvin and the Chipmunks song and then going to downvote it? It's not like they're throwing this into your lap, most likely. Like, sure, it's not the best song ever, but it's a Chipmunk song. You know what you're getting when you click on it. It's ridiculous. Like, I couldn't imagine a single person who would ever click on an Alvin and the Chipmunks cover of something and being disappointed with what they got. It's like, did you not know what they were when you clicked on the video? Baffled. But I do usually listen to the ones that I remember and like every single year. What was it? Up on the Housetop is definitely one I listened to recently. A lot of good ones. But Christmas music is an easy thing to listen to every single year. It's easy to find, whether you want to go out of your way to find it or not. It'll probably often come to you. Even if you're just sitting there and maybe you don't have a functioning ad block, or maybe the site you're on doesn't function with an ad block running, like Twitch or something. The Christmas songs will probably come to you because they'll come in the form of ads. All the ads also have Christmas songs wrapped in them. The thing that could be a little harder to want to be able to whip out, if you're trying to stay seasonal, you want to have things that are kept for that season, are video games. There are not a lot of seasonal video games, especially those associated with Christmas, even though you would think that would be the one that would have the most. There are a few. I think probably one of the most known to me is the classic series Elf Bowling, that at one point got so popular that they made an Elf Bowling animated movie. Never watched it. The models didn't look very good to make me want to watch it, but I'm acutely aware that the Elf Bowling movie exists. And I used to play Elf Bowling all the time, even when it wasn't Christmas time. You had these, it was a goofy little flash game. Typical just bowling video game mechanics. Santa went side to side, tried to line up with a pin, had kind of like the golf like power meter that you would have in like the old NES golf and every golf game since then. Most bowling games function the same too, until we get to Wii Bowling that actually uses motion controls. It's about when things actually start changing. But, you know, silly little elves, they would say silly little lines. One of the elves, I'm acutely aware, is named Elliot, because everybody in the line would talk about Elliot. Elliot farted at one point in time. The elves would protest, go on strike for union changes. They want fewer toys and higher wages. But I'm sorry, elves, you can't make fewer toys. The number of kids who are in the world is just the number of kids that are in the world. And it was a game filled with gags, and they made sequels to it. Elf Bowling 2, I believe, was a shuffleboard game where Santa had to deal with a not Santa that was competing for his job. I think they used one of Santa's other names, and it was a Kris Kringle or something. But there aren't a terrible lot of games involving the Christmas season. Santa exists in quite a few video games. I believe Santa's in The Secret of Mana. But there's just like, there's not a lot. I wish there were more. I wish I could find A lot of games that I can just pull off the shelf and be like, this is the game I'm playing for Christmas this year or during that season. I have a few of those. Some of them aren't even, they don't have any association with the holiday. I just associated. Like every year on Thanksgiving, I'll pretty much do a run of the original Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy has nothing to do with Thanksgiving, other than the fact that it's something that me and my brothers would do growing up. And eventually you get to a point where you start up early enough, even if you're not speedrunning, and it's not a terribly long game. You can beat the original Final Fantasy in one sitting. You get started, and by the time dinner's done, you've finished the game. I don't have a game like that for Christmas. And I guess maybe you don't think about it because, especially as a kid, why have a game you would play around Christmas time when Christmas time is when you get all of your games? Very often, I would associate Pokemon with Christmas because I would get one of the versions for my birthday earlier in the month. Won't be saying the day. And then on Christmas, I would get the opposite version for my birthday, and I would have both of them by the end. But some of the games that I do associate, just because they're themes, one of my favorite racing games of all time is Snowboard Kids, specifically Snowboard Kids 2. And I think because Christmas itself is associated with snow, like you kind of put two and two together there. It's like a kind of like psychological association test. You see snow, you think Christmas, and vice versa. Any snowboarding game immediately comes to mind. Snowboard Kids 2, I personally think, is the best game Atlas has ever made. Very, very controversial opinion, because the Persona spin-off franchise of Shin Megami Tensei, so you would say Mega 10, or personally a lot of people would say more Persona, would be the best thing Atlas has made. I think Snowboard Kids is better than Mega 10 or Persona. And they kind of stopped making it. The last one they made, as far as I know, never made it outside of Japan, was Snowboard Kids SBK. Yes, SBK for the DS. And the gameplay was mostly the same. It wasn't as fun, I think. The snowboarding was a little bit more realistic. The models were more realistic, and I think that took a little bit of the enjoyment away, because Snowboard Kids, the actual campaign for it, functioned a lot like watching a Saturday morning cartoon. They had little plots. There's a little Oni kid who's trying to like prank them and, you know, get the edge on them. And they're just a bunch of kids that are snowboarding in their wintry snow-covered village. And that kind of Saturday morning cartoon also played into the animation of the characters in the game too, getting flattened by pie tins and all sorts of different things. The way they did their tricks, very fun series. And for some reason, they're like, no, let's go make a realistic-ish, still stylized. They're not photorealistic. They just look more like a DreamWorks movie or something now, instead of the chibi Saturday morning cartoon. Some of the characters, it was hard to recognize without having to like really zone in on an aesthetic feature from the previous. Like Linda just ended up looking like a normal brunette girl. And it's like, oh man, where's your giant pointy nose? Tommy was pretty easy to spot because he's a bigger guy. But a lot of the characters just didn't really look like the same characters. And I'm not even sure if you could unlock the other ones, like Coach the Penguin. I don't even think he was an unlockable character in Snowboard Kids SBK. I've only ever played an emulation of it since it's never left Japan. I think the one I have is fan translated, but I wish Atlas would go back to making the series. It's definitely, I've whipped out Snowboard Kids already, personally by myself this year, just playing through a few levels, but I would like more. I would like some new Snowboard Kids. Some games also have individual levels that might remind you of Christmas, but it's not enough to make you want to play the whole game. Right? Obviously, you have Mario 64 wonderful ice and winter themed levels that if you have a finished save file for the game, it's pretty easy to just run back to any single part of the castle and go straight to the level that you want to play. So some games are better for that than others. The Mario Kart 64 Frappe Snowland, also a really good choice, but do you really just want to be running through that exact same race course over and over and over again just to keep that holiday spirit? Modern Mario Kart games, I think they've brought that track back. Maybe. But modern games have so many courses that you could just decide to do an entire winter mix back in Mario Kart 8, where it's had more courses than I think any other game had. I don't think even World Tour has as many courses as Mario Kart 8 did at the end of its run yet, though it will probably outnumber it by the end, maybe. I really don't know what they're doing with Mario Kart World Tour. It's not making a lot of sense to me at this point. I don't know if it's making a lot of sense to anyone. Everybody who I've talked to complains about the game, and they don't have as much fun as they used to. Yet the game is selling and is pretty popular, so it's probably just the people I'm talking to, and they probably would have shared very similar opinions to me. Now, we're very likely in a minority there. There are, or is, a very fun level in Metroid Prime Hunters that is functionally an entire ice cavern. It's one of the best levels to play in the multiplayer. It is one of the harder levels to play when you're going through the story of the game. But because of that, it's one I actually look forward to playing a lot when I do a run of that game. It's a multi-layered ice cavern planet where you can easily get lost through the twisting and turning slopes in there. And the fact that you're running through it in first person makes it even more difficult to figure out where you're going. And you end up fighting another hunter who is basically a Beyblade inside that place. That's another zone that I associate with the holiday season. But that is also associating the holiday season with death, I think, which is an unfortunate part of video games because a lot of the games that you will be playing an ice level or snow level or anything for, you will probably have to kill a lot of things. Is that necessarily the best thing to be associating with the Christmas season? I don't know. But they are just fictional video games. It's very easy to separate the killing of enemies from the reality and the cheer around you. I wouldn't imagine most healthy individuals would start getting violent just because they were killing enemies in a video game. Maybe if the enemies were killing them over and over again, I could see them getting a little more aggressive. The violence in video games do not make people more violent, but losing in video games will make them more aggressive. That is, I've seen people rage so many times. We've gone through controllers, not because of me. I've never been the type of person to ever throw my controller, but my brother has, and my mom has been the type of person who throws her controller. You could try to tell them to get good, but that's never actually a good solution to it because it just makes them angrier. The better solution probably is to put the game down for a little bit and then walk back to it after you've had some time to cool down. That's what I normally do. If I'm losing to something over and over again, I'll put the game down, go for a walk, decompress, come back, and usually I could beat it after I've calmed down. But the people who get into those states, they can't think rationally. They don't even want to stop. Because like when my brother is getting beaten handily in a video game, it kind of just makes him want to try harder, spitefully. Which because he's angry will make him play worse, and then this kind of just crescendos into either him exploding or actually beating the thing, which is a little fun to watch, but also a little hard to watch at the same time. Of course, I haven't seen him in a while, so I don't know if he's been having that experience with anything. And he just doesn't play as many games as he used to. He's too busy of a guy. And it might be for the best. As much as we like games, sometimes getting more busy in life will probably prevent us from raging at games. Because raging at games cannot be healthy at all. Not in the slightest. That's why I try not to. I think I drop most games that I think start to make me a little bit angry. Not stressed. I actually like feeling stress. But if a game is making me angry, I have to evaluate, why is the game making me angry? Is it making me angry because, like, I'm just not good enough to beat it? Well, if that's true, I could practice and I can get better at beating it, so maybe I should go off and do something else for a while, practicing mechanics and whatnot. But if the game is making me angry for another reason, maybe I just don't enjoy the game. Now, that could be a very, very key component to it. And if I don't enjoy the game, it might be better if I just put it down. But I've completely gone off the rails of what I came here to talk about. And I guess one of the problems is, even though I said I would start taking notes and having a piece of paper next to me, I did not take notes, and I don't have a piece of paper next to me. So I was walking around and pondering what I would be talking about today much, much earlier on. And I've completely forgotten half of what I was going to talk about by the time I sat down and started running the show. I got a little bit of it, for sure. I think one of the reasons we don't have to think about games that particularly have anything to do with the holiday season is because most games that are running now, there's still a lot of feature complete premium games that you can get. But a lot of games that people are engaging with are free to start live service games. I have a lot of holiday memories associated with MMOs because every MMO runs an event for the holiday. All these gacha games that I play, most of them have events for the holidays too. And if the game itself that we put most of our time into already has something to do for the holidays, why do I need to have a different game that's associated with it? Why do I need to make a whole game themed around it when I can just have an event in my game? I've been playing through the Genshin holiday event, which the part I have not been enjoying at all was the fact that they brought Wind Trace back as Snow Trace. I just never cared for Wind Trace. It's one of those lopsided PvPs where it's like 1 versus 4 people type situation, or was it 1 versus 3? I don't remember how it is, but it's like one of those. Oh my God, what's the name of that series? Or that game? It's the one with the horror monsters, but it's the one where it's like there's one person hunting the other people. And this one is a game of hide and seek. I don't really like that type of gameplay. I've participated. You have to do at least one to be able to progress the event. But that's it. I'm just going to let all the other primos burn because I don't like the mode. But a lot of people love Wind Trace, so they're excited for that. The other games that are available at the little festival are pretty fun, though. The main story is fun. You get to do a relay race at a certain part. There's a snowball throwing booth where you have to destroy objects. There's a combat mission as well. There's usually some type of combat mini game where you have to rack up points. That one's pretty fun. It's standard. It's the same stuff we do every single event. And there is an obstacle course, kind of auto runner one as well, that was pretty fun. Going back to Dragon Spine, though, you don't have to deal with the sheer cold mechanic of Dragon Spine for the most part, which I guess is pretty fun on its own, because I know a lot of people do not like the sheer cold mechanic at Dragon Spine. But it's a nice little holiday reprieve. And that's probably where we're getting most of our holiday vibes in video games these days. It's whatever live service game you personally happen to play, if you happen to play one. If not, then you probably just have a favorite that you associate with the day that you might plug in. I probably actually forgot to mention the most classic. There's a old school Home Alone game. I think it was on, was it the NES, maybe? I think it was around that era. Horrible game, mechanically speaking. Like, a lot of the hitboxes are absolute ass. You will probably get hit by something you did not intend to get hit on. You're like, there's just no way that should have hit me. But I guess solid for the era. There's a lot of games like that at the time. And Home Alone is one of the most popular Christmas movies. I haven't watched this year. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. I haven't watched almost anything this year when it comes to Christmas films or the like. But I still have a couple days, right? Christmas Eve is tomorrow. It'd be a good time to pop something on, watch a classic, maybe even on Christmas Day. I think the only thing we watched is we did watch the Charlie Brown Christmas special. And that's it. Nothing else so far. I think in general, if I haven't been working on something, because I've been working on a lot of stuff in the background that people have yet to see the results of, but they might soon, depending on how long it takes me to get these things out. If I'm not working on something, I mostly have just been playing games. I need to get back on to watching some new things more than anything else. I actually wonder, because I've just never bothered to look this up myself, how many classic Christmas movies probably have video game adaptations I've never heard of. They're probably awful. The vast majority of video game adaptations from film are horrendous. They're not a pleasant gaming experience. You might enjoy it for a little bit just because it is reminding you of the thing it's adapting, but they're usually not made with passion. There's some really good ones. Most of them are not. It's usually something that is just shelled out really quickly to try to make a buck for the movie itself. Which I think is awful when you think about it, because these devs could be working on something they want to work on. I'm sure they're getting paid regardless, but clearly they're not putting their best foot forward, and it's going to reflect on them for the rest of their career. And maybe there's some of them who are trying. Right? Groups are not uniform almost ever. And they're being weighed down by the people who aren't, or even by the publisher who's like, we just cannot put that much money towards this. Even though it's a licensed game, it's just not our main product. And because of that, these games are usually awful. I can only imagine that somewhere out there, there's some lost Jingle All the Way video game adaptation that would make you want to cry just playing it because of how bad it runs. Especially with some of these games, you have to ask yourself, what would you even do in them? At least Home Alone makes sense, right? The entirety of the game can just be Kevin trying to navigate his own house and get away from the burglars who are also trying to navigate his house. And that's mostly what the game is. A lot of the stuff, it's like, what would this very cheesy, very slow, maybe heartwarming, but not very actiony Christmas movie even look like in video game form? Unless it was a series of minigames. Actually, that could be fun. And I think maybe a lot of people just don't think of it. I could see something like Christmas Vacation, a movie I'm personally not very fond of, but a lot of people are. For a lot of them, it's their favorite Christmas movie. They'll watch it every single year. But something like Christmas Vacation, because it is just a bunch of bits, a lot of them being slapstick, could be fun if it was like a series of minigames that were all based off of the bits and you had to play them in succession. And that is maybe the type of thing that you might see if you had something that was developed by a very passionate team who liked the product and like, hey, here's a fun thing we could do with it. I would almost make that game myself, even though I don't really care for the movie it's made from. But I think there's some people with the idea, or like the mindset, that you give them a bunch of tools to play with. And even if they're not a big fan of the thing, they will make the most of it. You're like, okay, I don't care for the source that this is based off of, but what can I do to make it fun? That attitude doesn't seem to be as prevalent in the industry as it used to. Of course, I don't know how prevalent it ever was, looking at how bad many movie adaptations have been in video game form. But I think I'm also running out of steam here, because I forgot about half of what I was going to talk about on today's show. So I'm going to wrap up and end this here. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. We will not be having a show tomorrow because it's Christmas Eve. We won't be having one on Christmas Day either. I will see you on Friday. That's when the next Vomitorium Live will be. And I hope you all have a Merry Christmas in the meantime. Bye.